Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus Tyler Minix, docket number 19-231FH. Mr. Minix, you're here today because a bench warrant was issued based on allegations that you're in violation of probation. It is alleged in count 1 that on or about March 1 of this year, you engaged in new felony behavior by stealing a vehicle. In count 2, on or about the same date, you engaged in new felony behavior by entering a residence without permission. And in count 3, on or about March 1 of this year, you changed your residence at 1315 West Oliver Street in Owasso without permission from the agent. Do you understand the allegations against you?
Yes.
If they're proven true, it could subject you to a maximum penalty of up to 1 year in jail on your one prior conviction, up to 15 years in prison on the other. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Austin. You also have the right to have a contested hearing on these allegations where you could appear by yourself or through your attorney. You could hear the evidence presented against you. You could cross-examine witnesses and you could present your own evidence. And Mr. Austin, how are we proceeding on this?
Your Honor, Mr. Minix will be pleading not guilty to the violations, and I would ask the matters be set out. At least the first 2 violations are likely to result in pending criminal charges from the 55th District Court.
Yeah, I would just defer on those and deal only with the 3rd one.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe Mr. Minix would be willing to admit to that violation, but not to the first 2.
All right, then I always defer on new criminal behavior, but because of this had the added one about the address, I signed it and decided to go forward. So we'll just go forward on that. And Mr. Minix, is that what you want to do then, is plead guilty to that last charge of changing your address?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Minix, as I said, you have the right to a contested hearing. If you plead guilty, you won't have a contested hearing, and you'll give up the rights that go along with it. That includes the right to have this allegation proven, the right to have the witnesses against you appear at the hearing and to be able to cross-examine them, the right to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the hearing, and also the right to testify yourself at the hearing if you wanted to. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone made any promises to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Anyone used any threats or other kinds of pressure?
No, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty because you believe you did violate probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so tell me about this address situation. You were supposed to be living on Oliver Street, is that right?
Yes, I was. Me and my mother were having like disagreements and stuff. So I am asking if I can have permission to change address, and if so, I'll be staying at 123 Kent Street.
Okay, but you left Oliver Street without getting permission from your agent first, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The court finds the plea is understandingly, voluntarily, and knowingly made. It is supported by the testimony. The plea of guilty is accepted. Mr. Minix is found guilty of probation violation. And Agent Forrest, is there a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. We were last in court just at the end of last month. And while the defendant has done well on probation up to this point, I do have some concerns for him. Given all of the recent new criminal behavior, he does have pending felony charges in Ingham County and Oakland County. And while I don't think at this point I would recommend a revocation, I am concerned for his well-being, frankly, moving forward, and that he doesn't continue to engage in new criminal behavior. At this point, though, I would just ask that the court place him on 90 days of an MDOC curfew tether and allow probation to have a very strict schedule with that tether to hopefully prohibit further violations. Thank you.
Okay, and were you aware of this new address that he gave, and is it verified or approved by you?
I was not aware of it, but I certainly don't have a problem looking into a new address for him.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Austin?
Your Honor, I don't really have any objections to the recommendations. I find it to be appropriate. I would like to see Mr. Minix get back out and start resuming the things that he was working on doing. I know he kind of stumbled out of the gate here again, but as Mr. Forrest said, he has done rather well on probation up to this point. So I would ask the court to strongly consider following the recommendation. Thank you.
And now you, Mr. Minix, was there anything you wanted to say?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Agent Forrest, can you tell me how many days he's been in on the bench warrant?
He has 7 days currently, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Minix, I don't know what this will mean to your custody situation because I know you do have pending new charges, but I will continue you on probation, sentence you to 7 days in jail for this violation, credit for 7 days served. And if you are going to get out, because again, I don't know what the situation is with the new charges, then you will be resumed on probation and you'll be on 90 days of curfew tether. You must comply with everything to the letter that your agent tells you on the curfew tether. There are some pretty strict requirements. And make sure that whatever address you're living at, your agent is aware of it and that it is an approved and verified address. And that you don't change your address without first getting approval from your agent. And then, of course, all your other terms and conditions of probation will continue to apply. Mr. Minix, you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. It explains that more on the form that we'll send to you. And unless you have any questions, you are all set. You can tell them at the jail that you're all done so they can bring the next person into the room for me, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.